low fee, and that's our goal, is to keep it for the entire community. Because remember, you can be Irish by birth, marriage, or desire. So doesn't matter. Mayor O'Gillage. Thank y'all very, very,
Thank
very
you,
much.
Celeste and
We
Dan,
appreciate
for everything. It was a great event.
Thank you. We're getting it back where it used to be, right, Fofo?
Yeah, you got it.
1978 it started. Now it's going to blow up, and we appreciate y'all.
Very good.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Before I ask you to spread some minutes, but I want to thank, speaking of the police department and the fire department, we had a great event this past weekend. I think for the third time in about 5 years, we've had the Thunderbirds, and it was outstanding. We figured, I think, 100,000 per day. Yeah, and it was great. I think I've never seen so many boats on Deer Island. In the old days when we had the blessing of the fleet, you could go from boat to boat to boat, and then of course it looked like Miami Beach or Rio de Janeiro on the front beach, at least from the lighthouse to the Beau Rivage and the other way. So it was really good. Traffic was really good in my estimation. Some people had some issues, but it did work out well. And one thing, talking about a female Eagle Scout, this year, if you know the diamond formation, as the Thunderbirds flew, this was the first time a female has been flying the slot in the Thunderbirds. There were actually 3 female pilots, but she actually made the call on the separation, and you got the leader in the front and the 2 wing people, but just a tremendous thing. So it's a girls' day, right? So we thank y'all, and thank the scouts and everything you did, and that almost concludes my report. I'd ask you to spread the expenses of the Biloxi Traveler credit card to the minutes. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. All righty. All right, we're going to move on to the no departmental reports, going to move on to the council reports. George?
Yeah, a couple of things. Sunday was 100,000, it might have been more than that. That's probably the biggest crowd I've ever seen in Biloxi. I know the last 80 years I've been around, That was, anyway you went, any building you went to, the top of them packed, the beach was packed, the islands probably didn't sink. But it's just, that was an awesome show. And I think the people come out there, it's a free show, great for the public, a great advertisement, So maybe next time we get the Blue Angels, we get the Navy bunch back. So when I tell you, there's just, the show they put on, it's amazing. We're sitting out there on the beach and all the kids that just, they were just, 7, 8, 10-year-old kids. Just so excited watching that. Figured maybe I'll be in there next time.
Some 80-year-old kids that were excited too, right? Some 80-year-old kids were excited.
Oh, yeah, we all, everybody was excited. You got excited. That's pretty hard.
Yeah. I was excited.
All right, the next thing was, once again, Fofo, we had 200 people playing pickleball. You're gonna get this in shape. And 2 tons of people playing pickleball. It's time.
Bids are out right now.
Right, it's time for us to get our 24 courts. These people are coming to Biloxi to play pickleball. Don't lose that right now. We're number 1. They want to come here. So make sure you keep that. I know you're slow sometimes and you're hard-headed and you can slay apart.
Yeah.
Pot
and kettle.
Don't let that. Right. Well, we're all hard-headed.
That's right.
You don't miss an opportunity like that. It's just unbelievable. It's all over TV. It's just wherever they have this, 200-300 people constantly coming, and they're enjoying it being in Biloxi. So we just got to make sure we get the course built, get the concession or the whatever, the bathroom, whatever we're building out there, right. So that has got to happen. The next thing is, I know we hadn't yet got back with the council on these plans for Florida and Atlanta, how they handled all this stuff. We don't need you have great events. Like last weekend was awesome. Weekend before, Crawford Festival. So you have a lot of great events. You can't have the bad ones. You have to take care and make sure.
That's our intent, and I think chiefs have been reaching out to a lot of folks. And part of the actually the Florida Chiefs of Police regularly scheduled teleconference, right? So we're coming up, and we feel like we're going to at least monthly give everybody a plan for next year. So by the time it comes and the dates, we'll actually have some rules and some regs that will prevent some of the challenges we faced last year.
Well, I know all the councils, we want to be involved in this. People talk to us all the time. So we need to find out, like you said, you need to do this stuff immediately. to put
Is our
the
intent?
places in plan, and then whatever plans they use that was good for them.
We do it the right way.
Right.
That's our goal, is to do it the right way.
And I know Kenny dealt a lot with them with the tourism more than probably most of us, but it worked. So that's a good thing. Because you want your citizens to be safe. And that's our goal. Have a nice event, but you got to be safe. Let's see what else we have here. And I think it was great to St. Patrick's Day. I think it turned out good. I think that was a great event coming down Hart Avenue. I know the police department loved it being off Highway 90, right? So they loved that. And I think that'll grow into a big event. So that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Ms. Newman? All right, Mr. Deming?
Ms. Labata, just briefly, I know we just discussed the ward meeting on the 25th. Some things we talked about, I didn't ask you. I haven't heard any complaints, so I was wondering if we've got any complaints off of Lauren Falls or Campbell. No one's reached out to me and complained after any heavy rainfalls. It seems to have.
I have not heard anything at all. I talked to one of the residents there that was in Lauren Falls, that his backyard was flooding. Before the last big rain we had, he called, and I told him, I said, he was just kind of checking in. I said, well, if you have any issues, give me a call. This rain's coming in, so this will be a good test. And I didn't hear back from him. So it sounds like everything's working.
Okay, great. Just while you're here, Campbell Drive, the sinkholes down Campbell Drive from
Yes.
one end to the other end at every intersection.
Yes. So we got those in the queue for our repair replace contractor to get to. We have a long line of work lined up for him. And he also has to pull off to do emergency work for Public Works. So sometimes it gets backed up. But it is in our queue to get done. I don't really have a time frame yet because it's about 4 or 5 projects down, but we're going to get there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The only other thing I have to note is that there will be a Ward 4 meeting at Donald Snyder on May 25th. I know I'm going to have some directors and some members of the administration there, hopefully. Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Tisdale?
Yes, thank you. There's, Ms. Labat, you don't need to come up, just want to make you aware. On Bay Vista Drive, near the west end where it runs into Churchill, there's a manhole cover there, and over the years, something's failed in that area. And it's just, it's enough of a depression that it collects water, but if you happen to be going above the speed limit, you might tear the bottom out of your car. So hopefully do the speed limit. But anyway, it's not getting any better, still deteriorating, if somebody could look at that. Thank you. Mr. Abide, I've been saving up all week. How we coming on that shopping cart ordinance? Probably third from the top of your list, but we're working on that. I know you had given me something earlier and we kind of exchanged comments, but
It's probably not that high, but it's there.
I understand.
I guess it'd probably be appropriate that I circulate that to you and all the council about what we're looking at, what we want to do.
Yeah, and I don't mind meeting with you. I know you'd given me something to look at. I wasn't real excited about it, so maybe we meet again and come up with something.
It wasn't mean enough, I think is what you said.
No, there was not enough. Pretty accurate.
Okay.
There wasn't much of a consequence, and
Right.
really, if it's my shopping carts for my business, I ought to be responsible for rounding them up or keeping them on my property instead of them ending up on the sidewalks in the woods and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
and if we get something going before the council in a couple of months, that would be good. I mean, I know you have a lot of fish to fry. Is it possible, I was driving by the dog park, on Margaret Sherry over there on Pops Ferry Road. Is it possible to get a portalet over that way? For some reason, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I think they're working on the bathrooms out there, or will be, so I know those bathrooms are closed, but is it possible to put a portalet out there maybe until that bathroom is open again?
Yes.
So now that it's possible, how probable is that likely to, can we do something about that?
You and I talked about that,
Yeah.
Councilman. You know, these, unless they're in a busy area, those portalets get abused. I mean, first of all, you got to clean them every day. And if you've got any kind of a homeless population, they're going to be drawn to them. So we could reluctantly give that a try for a while and see how it goes, but
Anything you could do would be greatly appreciated, and we'll see what the experience is.
right.
But yeah, that's a common issue, people knocking over the portalets and all that other good stuff. But if you gotta go, you gotta go. Anyway, thank you for that. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you. I know it took a while, but Old Glory was flying on the flagpole by the lighthouse. That's what we call just-in-time delivery in the business sector. So anyway, it looks really nice. Thank you so much for doing that. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glavin.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to commend Chief Miller to a successful air show weekend. I know there was a lot of stress on those highways, and I know I called you several times for some people that in businesses that were having questions, and you gave the right answers, and I appreciate that. I'd also like to thank Chief Miller. There was another gentleman that was in distress, and you worked through that and saw it all through to a resolution, and I just want to thank you for that. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Chief. Greatly appreciate that. Also, a shout out to James Crowell. I invited him to a cup of coffee to discuss spring break. He was very candid in his conversation and suggestions. The community is looking forward to seeing what the city is going to do. But I very much appreciate Mr. Crowell. We spoke for nearly an hour. We also got off topic a little bit, and he shared some of his youth with his dad. His dad had an auto repair shop when he was growing up, and we got to share a little bit of personal insight to both of our backgrounds, and I really treasure spending a little bit of time with him talking on those topics as well. Shout out to Houghton Buchanan again at 7 o'clock tonight. They play Northwest Rankin. Northwest Rankin, I think, won it all last year, so they're going up against a pretty fine baseball team, but Biloxi has a pretty fine baseball team as well. If any of you can make that game after the council meeting, show them some love and support. I'm sure they greatly appreciate that. I also spent some time with his fiance today in her classroom. Sarah Parks, she has a junior high class, several classes, by the way. Scott Delano started off a couple of classes, and I finished up, and we talked about municipal government. The kids had some great questions, and they really appreciated being engaged to talk about their community and their ideas and their concerns. Mayor, they've reached out. They told me to reach out to you. They only got 3 weeks left. If you have time in your busy schedule, if you can make a class or two. I told them I would convey that message, and so that's what I'm doing. But they were really a joy to speak to, really enjoyed that. And last but not, well, a couple more things. Tennis court lighting. I understand that we're getting bids, or we're looking into potential replacement of some lighting out at the tennis courts. If I understand, the Biloxi Schools superintendent has committed to coming to the table and maybe being a partner with that. So if we can engage them and see if we can improve that lighting out there, I'd greatly appreciate some attention to that. And now finally, last but not least, shout out to Public Works. I had several residents on Wetzel Drive as they come out on Brazier Road. They had deep concerns of their teenage drivers and themselves because of the tree limbs and some of the bushes that had overgrown, and it was creating a hazard. I made one call to Mike Leonard the next morning. Public Works was out there trimming those trees, and I got probably at least 6 phone calls today expressing their gratitude, and I told them I'd pass it along to the mayor and the administration for responding rapidly. And with that, Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett?
Christie, after the meeting, I have a couple things I need to get with you on. What is, Mr. Leonard or Fofo, what is the stance on speed bumps? I know at one time we weren't doing them. I've had several people reach out to me in some subdivisions asking about that. Is that something that we're still not doing, or?
I think the traffic committee not really excited about it, but never say never.
That's right. If we could notify Craig Ross about the locations where they want them, we'll go out and look at them. The traffic committee will come up with some suggestions. There's just a whole lot of variables that we'll have to look at besides the cost.
Okay, all right. I just have several people from different subdivisions that they're having speeding issues, and so they're reaching out to me on that. While you're up here, and this may have already been answered because I came in late, was there any significant issues during the air show, arrests or violence or assault on officers or anything like that?
No, it was busy. I mean, it was really busy, and mostly a traffic event though. And there were, there's just some things that we had to deal with along the way that popped up on us, but.
Okay, but nothing
For the most
major?
part, no, for the most part, everything went very well.
Uneventful. All right, thank you. And then I want to thank the Public Works Department. I'd asked for some signage at a couple locations, and our sign department got that taken care of quickly. And so I want to thank them. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barrett. And I want to go ahead and, in my report, I want to thank you, Troop 212, for coming on out. We thank you for doing our Pledge of Allegiance, and I want to congratulate Mackenzie on her award. So again, thank you guys for coming out. Next, I wanted to ask the mayor, can I get him? That I know that at the business council meeting, he mentioned the homeless campaign.
Right.
If you can give me the dates.
Update on that.
Let
Again,
everyone know the dates.
Biloxi and I think our folks from our PD, Chris and the chief, and we met with Leonard Papania, Billy Hughes, and Adam, and kind of a start. People have been asking what we're going to do about panhandling. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have a little heads up on what we're going to try and do as far as signage and letting folks know that there's going to be a better way if you have to want to contribute than the cash. And that's presented some issues, directly and indirectly. And tomorrow morning at 10:30 at the Visitor Center, this will be the first meeting, and we'll have some signs that we're going to ask to be placed where we have the issues. And we'll get some input then. But June 1st is when we're really going to push. It's 10 a.m. That's right. Yeah. 10 a.m. not 10:30. But and there's a complete. Panhandling is different than homeless, and there's going to be a little differentiation there. But bottom line is we're going to help where we need to help and discourage. Panhandling is someplace, and sometimes it's a scam, and sometimes it's for a certain need. But we're going to try to determine how we can really be effective. Some of these folks that need things and discourage some of these folks that are using it as an occupation. So the kickoff tomorrow will be just an informational thing at 10 o'clock, and then we're going to follow up with the press. And again, Biloxi, Gulfport together will be doing this, but other cities will be joining. So tomorrow's panhandling, and next is homeless.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Ask the question. Who you invited? Who's supposed to be attending?
It was published, I think, John, when we had emails to most everyone and merchants, yeah. Okay, merchants who really have been impacted by the panhandling situation, the intimidation and just the general atmosphere of the impact of panhandlers.
So there's going to be a discussion, and you're just going to pass on?
Well, we're going to discuss what we're planning on doing, And then, if we have to adjust, but there's a way, bottom line, there'll be a way to text, if you feel like you need to donate a couple of dollars, and a lot of them want money instead of a meal, and so we're just going to hit the whole gamut of what people think and make some adjustments. But again, the push will be, I think tomorrow's, it will be us, and then Thursday will be Gulfport, so we'll be attending both events.
So you hosting that tomorrow at 10:30 at the visitor center?
10, our lawyer, 10 o'clock at Visitor Center.
At the visitor center. All right, thank you.
Okay, and I just want to thank Christy for the East Biloxi Building Program and the drawing, so I'll get my homework done. So thank you. And that concludes my report. All right, we're going to move on to the public agenda, citizen comments. Total allotted time, 45 minutes, 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone to my left who would like to come up and have a few comments? Anyone to my left? Anyone to my right would like to come up and have a few comments? Anyone in the back of the room would like to come up and have a few comments? Mr. Parks, please sign in.
My name is George Parks. I live in 174 Hannibal Court, Biloxi, Mississippi. I live facing Bush Park. I live in a circle, has 9 houses, 2 houses on the street. And when they have an event out in the park, no one knows what it means to keep the traffic flow. One car park, no cars can go through, and if somebody come through, they see someone, they stop, talk to them, close the circle down. We hadn't had that problem as long as that one gate that was for ABA was locked. They had things at the park, everyone parked along Estes Boulevard, everything worked fine. Now that they've opened that gate up again, my subdivision, my circle is closed down. So when I came up Saturday and I saw they was getting ready to have a function out there, I stopped over to the people that was out there gathered and I asked the question, who is in charge? And when I asked that question, they directed me to Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris said that he was an official of the city of Biloxi. Let's face it, I know Biloxi fairly well. I'm here at council meeting. I'm around the city of Biloxi, so I know the officials. And he told me he was the official of the city of Biloxi and that the mayor said that they can park along the street. I did not want to get into it with him, but he said, I will call him. I said, call him. I know the mayor also. Maybe we can talk to him. He said, so he walked on off, said, we can park out here and park where we want to. So my subdivision was closed down, and I did not call and report it to the police because they had a function going on, and it didn't make sense to try to do that. I'm asking the city of Biloxi Council to do something about the park. Either close it down, make it where you could, I shouldn't say close it down, close the street where they can't park on the inside so that we will be able to have ebb and flow both ways traffic all the time. If not, close it down, move the park somewhere else, do something. Don't make it where, I said it was 9 houses there. Out of the 9 houses, everyone is over 60 years old. We have 2 that's over 80, and I'm happy to say I'm over 70, and I think it's 3 houses over there over 70. Sooner or later, we're going to have.
That concludes your time.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Is there anyone else? Anyone else would like to speak? And with that being said, that concludes citizen comments. We're going to move on to our policy agenda. Oh, one of the scouts wanted to talk? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Come on up. Okay, come on up, okay. My apologies.
I actually want to thank Mr. Guines for joining our committee meeting for our Cub Scout pack, our girls troop, and our boys troop. Not a lot of people realize we actually have a girls troop and a boys troop in Biloxi now. I want to thank Rotary Club for also agreeing to that. With that, though, we have several scouts coming up this year that have all finally made Life Scout. So that's the highest rank that these scouts can make prior to going to Eagle Scout. And in order to make Eagle Scout, they have to come up with a very good project that's going to benefit the community that they live in. So Mackenzie had one. She benefited the school districts with Harrison County and the free little library system. These other young scouts, both boys and girls that are coming up, are going to be looking at wanting to do some things with the city. There's been a little discussion about one of them, and I'm glad you mentioned the dog park, because he wanted to try to build an agility course. So it gives a little more something for the community to go out there and do. I'm going to have him come and talk to you guys at a later date, but if there's anything that the city has that we can come in and help with, we'd ask that you guys could reach out to us.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Okay, did I miss anyone else? Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close out public agenda and move on to our policy agenda. Ordinance A, second reading. Michelle?
Ordinance to amend the text within the land development ordinance related to cannabis.
That was moved by Mr. Lawrence and second by Mr. Glavin. Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, I had looked through this. Did you want to sit in on this, Robert, or not? Did you want to sit in on this? Because we're going to try to set some things with these rules and regulations. I was just asking, it's ethical or not, but I was just asking you if you want to sit in or not.
Yeah, I have no problem sitting in on that. If you want to form a committee to work on something. I mean, I have some comments on this agenda item, so I'll follow up after you and Kenny have your time to speak.
Okay. I was just looking at some of the things that we have, is putting a conditional use on like 6 different groups in the city of Biloxi. And I looked at one, the neighborhood business is one I don't think should have a conditional use with it. I don't think it ought to be permitted in a neighborhood business. And
That's what we're doing.
Justin.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, but I don't want any, you got a conditional use on that.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's what I said, I don't want that. No conditional use in the neighborhood business, I don't think should be permitted.
You don't want it allowed at all.
Right, that's,
Okay.
so I'm just bringing things up, that's why there's 7 is out there, so we can talk about it. I had even downtown, I think that's the push. These are the one that you had listed conditional uses on, and the waterfront. And I think you had 3 other ones, the community business, what were the other 3 that you had conditional uses for?
Waterfront.
Are you just talking about the dispensary?
Yeah, whatever, the first one on, right, the dispensaries.
Yeah, the dispensary. We were moving dispensaries from a permitted use to a conditional use in CB, RB, and industrial zones.
CB, RB. I had no problem with that. I think the conditional use is a thing where all these things need to come to us. I just think some of them, the way we want to promote our town, I think this is an opportunity to change these things and try to use the 3 week the conditional uses in and go with that and just see how that works out. I don't think we'd have in all 6 zones. The conditional use. That's just my opinion. The next thing I was doing, I noticed they had nothing about parks and playgrounds. Is there anything like the 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet from any of our kids' parks? Not the schools. It's a certain feet for the schools and educational thing. But I noticed I didn't see anything for parks and all the little recreation places we have throughout the city. And I think they should be protected too.
Well, you already have language in the ordinance that would address that. If these are made conditional use, it has to meet the same 9 criteria that any other conditional use would meet. And the third item in there says that it has to be compatible with the character of the surrounding lands in order to be approved. A conditional use has to meet all 9 of these. So if there's a park next door, the council could vote to turn that conditional use down because you don't feel that it's compatible having a park right next door or somewhere in the neighborhood. So you do have language in there that would
Well,
control.
but you got conditional use language. This shouldn't be allowed. You know, we here to protect the kids, and it shouldn't even be allowed, it shouldn't even brought up, anything like that. There should be 1,000 feet or 15, whatever the state does. I don't care what it is. You don't need a conditional use. These things, the gummy bears and stuff like that, these are attracting to kids. And these things, to me, should not be in there. We shouldn't have to vote it in or out. They shouldn't be allowed, period. I mean, that's, you know, our right is to take care of the kids, make sure they are protected, keep them away from it. 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet, I don't care which one you use, but nothing should be any closer than that, to the schools, the parks, the Little League fields. So it should be automatic that those things are not allowed, or even conditional use, or any kind of use. So those are the 3 things I didn't like, and I need some kind of protection, to me, for the kids. So that we open up. Anybody voice their opinion.
Okay, Mr. Glavin?
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, as we've got these proposals that have come before us, I guess I've developed a different view than I originally did. I think we moved a little bit too aggressively. I think we should have restricted it a little bit more into certain zones, but we didn't do that. And my concern is that we're going to see it proliferate and be in a lot more areas than what we anticipated or that we thought that this would do. That's just my thought. So what I'd like to see is a workshop on this, especially if we're moving it to conditional use, which makes it more restrictive, moving it to conditional use than use by right. So I like that part of it. But there may be some, and I don't know if we have the ability to do this, Peter, can we remove some of these zoning districts if we had the political will up here to even make it more restrictive and kind of crawl before we walk and walk before we run?
Yes, if you have the political will and also the recognition that if something gets challenged and reversed, then it may undo some things we've already done and set us back as well.
Yeah.
But it's all part of the equation.
Noted. And so what I would like, if the council could agree to it after we have our discussion, maybe set up a workshop. I think this really needs a workshop for us to look at because it affects so many in so many different ways. It's really more complex than I originally thought it was, and how it can proliferate. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, are you moving it subject to call, or you wanted to table it, or move to table it, or anything?
I'd like to, I'll offer a move to table it, subject to call, and to request a workshop to discuss it further.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, it was moved by Mr. Glavin, second by Mr. Lawrence. Is there any questions about that? Because it doesn't sound like we're ready yet. Any questions on the council? All in favor? Okay, 7-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Table. Okay, ordinance B, Michelle?
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning district classification for 2 parcels of land from their present zoning district classification of NB Neighborhood Business to CB Community Business, presently identified as 2694 Beach Boulevard and 136 Gateway Drive.
That was moved by Dr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Glavin. Dr. Tisdale?
Yeah, I'll repeat my comments. This is 2 parcels comprising about 4 acres, and I think Mr. Creel, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a new hotel proposed. That would be a first phase, followed by some commercial retail and perhaps condos in the second phase. And this is the site that used to be where Landry's Restaurant was located before Katrina came through. So it's just to the east of Gateway Park.
That's correct.
Between there and Walmart Lane.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so anyway, I think it's a good project. I would solicit your vote to approve this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Glavin?
I have no comment.
Okay, anyone else have any comments? And call for the question, all in favor? 7-0, motion carries. We're gonna move on to Resolution C.
Resolution appointing Mark Dubas, Ward 3 Representative, to the Biloxi Tree Committee for a term beginning May 2nd, 2023, and ending May 1st, 2026.
Need a motion on C?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Newman, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, 7-0, motion carries. Resolution D.
Resolution rescinding Resolution Number 83522, granting conditional use approval to authorize the construction of 40 townhome units for property zone CB Community Business and identified as 1654 Beach Boulevard.
I move it.
Seconded.
Moved by Mr. Lawrence, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any comments, questions? All in favor? 7-0, motion carries. Resolution E.
Resolution granting conditional use approval to authorize construction of a multifamily complex comprised of 38 detached single-family units for a property located within a CB Community Business Zone and identified as multiple addresses, 1654 Beach Boulevard.
I move it.
It was moved by Mr. Lawrence. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions, Mr. Lawrence?
A couple of things. They had two different sets of plans on this one piece of property. The reason we has rescinded one and moved it forward to 38 units. Because the man changed his plan. On the 38 units, when you put them in a CB, do these homes become commercial?
Well, they're CB, but they put in their package when they came in that they're not going to be used for short-term rental. This
No, I
is
see.
Elliott Homes that's doing this. But they'd be able to rent them for more than 30 days.
Right. But you can't build a residential home inside of the CB, that probably have to have a conditional use?
No, sir, it's because it's multifamily. Multifamily in CB zoning is considered a conditional use.
Right. So any reason they said they wanted to separate it, make it 38 individual home?
They came back and said that they had looked at the market again, and they felt the market was stronger for single-family houses rather than townhomes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dr.
I have
Tisdale?
nothing.
None?
I have nothing.
Anyone else? Call for the question. All in favor? 7-0, motion carries. Resolution F.
Resolution granting conditional use approval to authorize the establishment of a self-storage facility situated within an NB Neighborhood Business Zoning District and identified as 12011 Old Highway 67.
I'll move it.
Second.
Oh, it's been moved, right? It's tabled.
Yeah, well, it was tabled, but moved by Ms. Glavin, second by Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Glavin?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with this as long as they meet the drainage and other stipulations and they come forward with a plan before they move forward in operating any business there. It seems conducive for it and there's a need in this area for this type of business, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence?
I support Mr. Glavin.
Okay, anyone else? Call for the question. All in favor? 7-0, motion carried. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Tisdale.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, you got any questions?
On A, Alpha?
Alpha.
Yeah, resolution determining allocation of certain distribution of funds. What funds we dealing with, where they come from, where we going with it?
This is the gaming tax the city receives. The city receives gaming taxes, and the statute allows allocations between Biloxi High School and the other county schools. And it basically affirms what we're doing, how we are allocating that money this year.
Basically the same formula.
Same formula has been done
Right.
many years before.
So this is an annual thing you have to do? It's,
Well,
the
the
breakdown
term-
is the same, right?
Right. The Attorney General opinion says that the council has a right to make the decision and make that appropriation. So we've been doing that annually for the last 3 years.
Just verifying it. Nope, no problem with me. On India, that's for Mike. He likes that India. That's that Marine talk, you know.
Indigo.
Yeah. Amending the budget, and you're doing to provide additional funding for, what is 1073? Which one is that? The project that we have been,
That's Ruth Sanchez.
Project 1073 is a project we use for repair replace because those projects aren't always big enough to make it an individual project. This particular amendment is for Ruth Sanchez to provide water and sewer down to Ruth Sanchez.
and that Mike, he already showed me him. That's what you're talking about, Sylvania. When you're redoing the street, redoing the water lines through there. I had that circle, but that's what you showed me the pictures of, correct? M.
Sylvania Street, yeah. As you and I were talking before the meeting, I'm not sure anybody else in the council is that interested in Sylvania Street, but it's really a unique issue that we've kind of stumbled on, the fact that we noticed Keesler rebuilding their drainage system on the other side of the fence, and it caused us to say, now where does that water go? Well, come to find out, that water goes underneath the railroad track and goes to Sylvania Street. It's a 60-inch pipe coming underneath the railroad track and into that neighborhood, and that it flows all the way down to the beach. So we've, just out of curiosity, we ran a camera down it and found that the thing is blocked. It's full of water halfway down, so it's not draining. So we got a problem that's probably a very old problem that just kind of came to our attention recently. It's causing some potholes and sinkholes in some of those neighborhoods that back up to that street. But as you know, it's not really a street, it's really an alley. And we've got an engineering firm looking at it now to see what our options are to get the water flowing. But it's kind of odd how it came to us, in that we noticed Keesler redoing their pipes. And of course, it caused us to say, so where's that water going? And we learned we're draining the Keesler Field through on a 60-inch pipe through Sylvania Street.
That might have been one of the first things they did in Keithler back in '41 when they came with the drainage system back there. But because at that time, you can go across the track right at St. Peter's, and that they didn't have gates. They just roads across there all over the place, So that was 1941, June the 12th when they came.
Definitely is 1940s pipe.
So
on our side.
I think that's all for me. Yes, that's it.
All right, Ms. Newman? Mr. Deming?
On C, Charlie, do we have, just keeping in theme with George, do we have this reallocation assistance for just compensation? How does that work? They just contact you? Is this something that that they submit a bill to us and we, under the 1970 statute, we,
Says the tracks, huh?
That's the
Railroad track.
east-west.
Basically, what happens is we hire a relocation, actually an acquisition consultant who works with these property owners and helps to find them houses to move into, helps them line up any repairs that need to be made to the houses if it's like if it's in, doesn't meet the inspections. That also helps them line up movers and things like that. So while they don't just have a free rein to go out and just spend a lot of money, our consultant helps work with them so that we can get them moved and moved quickly, but then all the expenses are covered, but they're not exorbitant expenses.
Same process we use for Division Street.
Yes, yes.
And
It's
I think the
called
total number of,
federal relocation requirements.
Chrissy, I think the total number of houses is something like 5 or 6. It's not many.
Yes, and we actually cut it down to phase 1, so I think it's only maybe 2 now at most with the first phase.
this is, when we do just compensation, we don't account for relocation.
But you don't know what those relocation costs are until we actually move the people.
It's a
So that's
reimbursable.
that's why they come back to us to get reimbursed for the relocation
That's
costs
what I'm saying.
later.
That's what I'm asking. This is a reimbursement thing. They're saying this is what it actually cost us.
Yes.
And do we pay it in full, or do we then negotiate with them and say, well, that's not reasonable, we'll only pay you this much?
And that's why we have our relocation consultant that we hire, Mark Dye. He does all of our relocation he's worked with us for years at the city. That's why we have him, is to make sure that they are reasonable costs. So he actually works with the property owners to line all that up ahead of time before they even incur those costs. So
If they did that, then why would we need a reimbursement program?
Probably because it takes longer for us to cut a check. A lot of times if there's.
So we make them pay.
Some of the reimbursement
Go to them.
includes utilities, and you don't know about utility costs until they're moved in.
Yes.
So I'm saying, so we go to them and say, move on your dime, but wait, let us make sure that you're not spending too much money moving, and we'll pay you back afterwards.
A lot of times what Mark will do as well is he'll line up, like when they buy the house, we have all that lined up and timed exactly where we get the check cut from the city so that they can turn around and immediately buy the house. When we have movers line up, a lot of times Mark will go to them and tell the moving company, hey, you're gonna submit your reimbursement to me, and or the property owner may agree to pay it. I mean, it just kind of depends on what the situation is. So that he works with that ahead of time. If the property owner doesn't have the money, he'll tell the company, hey, here's what's happening. He'll give them all the proof that this is really a city project, that they're going to get their money back. So it just kind of depends on the property owner and the process and the companies that they're using.
I understand. I just wanted to understand the process. I don't support the programs, but I just wanted to understand the process.
Yeah, so it's
how we do it.
like a reimbursement, but sometimes we reimburse the property owner if they've incurred it. Sometimes we reimburse directly to like the moving company. It just really depends.
Right, okay. And it's not really, I guess I spoke a little freely. I don't not support the program of giving people money back after we force them to move. It's the we force them to move part that I don't support.
Yes.
But thank you.
understand. You're
I
welcome.
understand the program now. I appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Good, Chris.
Okay, Dr. Tisdale?
Yeah, only one item, excuse me, which is item G. We're looking at using the Mississippi Gulf Resort Classic Foundation at $10,000 for a proposed Juneteenth celebration. And I don't know if I don't believe we've expended the coastwide MLK Celebration Committee money. Wouldn't it be just easier just to move that money over to this Juneteenth?
We can do either one.
6 of that?
I've asked, Kenny put that up, and I asked Kenny, and I was okay with that. Kenny said he was okay with it.
Either way, I mean, we may have another use for the other MLK, funds.
Could I offer an amendment then that rather than move the Gulf Resort Classic Foundation money, that 10,000, move the MLK Coastwide Celebration amount, the same amount, basically for this Juneteenth celebration. That would be my amendment.
I'd just like to chime in, so the golf tournament is not coming back. And that's why we figured we'd move it. The other event may come back in some shape or form, and we just let it sit there, I guess. And we can repurpose it when we do have an event. And I guess that
I agree with you,
that
Kenny.
was the logic in not taking it out of the other fund. But it doesn't matter. I mean, we can do either or, it has the same effect.
Okay. As I said,
You make that motion?
I'll make that motion to amend it so that it moves the MLK Coastwide 10,000 instead of the Mississippi Gulf Resort Classic Foundation, which will be free for some other use.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Dr. Tisdale. It's been seconded by Mr. Deming. Any questions?
Can I just say something? I support that idea, and here's why. We're gonna go through a budget cycle. I think it'll just be easier to budget these programs and events during that process instead of trying to remember where we had money that we didn't use last time. I think it'll be a much cleaner experience when we do budgeting as we allocate funds to different events. If the event comes back, we reallocate money to it. But that's just my position.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
And Kenny and I talked, and I would like to stand where it's at. So I'll leave it at that. Any other questions? Yes, stay in Biloxi.
Yeah, I'm talking about tomorrow, we're gonna be all tied into Biloxi, correct?
That all depends on them. So I don't know.
I mean, I have no problem with take care of Biloxi.
Take care of Biloxi, right.
None at all.
Right.
What is this?
But again, I'm gonna stick with the original thing. I'm gonna go ahead and call for the question. All in favor of what Dr. Tisdale in repurposing the other Martin Luther King money? All in favor? How many we got? Dr. Tisdale? Jay, 3, and you going 4?
Yeah, but you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm not going for it.
Biloxi, you're not gonna-
Yeah. And all against? 3, 4, 3, so it passes. It goes, repurpose it.
Don't matter.
Okay? Anything else?
She has to restate it.
You had to restate it?
The amendment would be to move the money that was appropriated for the Coastwide MLK Celebration Committee to substitute that source instead of the Mississippi Gulf Resort Classic Foundation appropriation. Is that okay? You clear on that?
Oh, wait, I missed
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Dr. Tisdale?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Glavin?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, Mr. Barrett? None? Okay, and we're gonna vote on,
I need to get this straight, because we just voted on. So what'd you do with the money?
no, what they did is they just changed a different pot of money, that's all.
Say that again?
Changed a different pot of money.
And, I mean, Martin Luther King, they said coastwide,
Right,
so that's nothing to do with us,
no,
right?
right.
But I tell you, I'm not gonna vote if Biloxi don't get the money.
No, it's going for Juneteenth. It's going for Juneteenth celebration.
And where's that at?
In Biloxi.
Right here in Biloxi,
It's on June.
at the town green.
Okay.
It's going on the town green.
If I'm gonna spend the money in Biloxi, that's fine, if it's not.
Gonna be spending Biloxi. Okay. And I'm gonna call for the question of the consent agenda. All in favor? Okay, 7-0. Any against? Me, none. Dr. Tisdale? None? All right. Okay, consent agenda passes. Okay, we're gonna move on to the routine agenda. I need a motion on it. Moved by Mr.
Second.
Lawrence, second by Dr. Tisdale. Any questions? George?
Did we get the 4.6 million? The 3 wizards over there. I said, did we get the 4.6 million in the bank? Now, I wanted to ask you, one of the questions, in the routine, I know we talked about this, you talk all the time. Can we hire 2 crews to clean up this city? We can't, the people we got working can't do it.
There's a lot of things that have grown up and grown around, including the Highway 90. And we have moved from, I guess, force account labor to contractual services. We made a budget amendment, and it's our intent to get a couple of crews. I think he asked for 8, Billy Ray?
Billy Ray,
Yeah.
hired 7, I believe.
No, but I'm talking about 4 contractual services too. I think it was at 17 an hour or something, wasn't it? Yeah. So we're moving that way. We got to have some direction and scheduling of that. So we moved a lot of things from labor that we couldn't hire to contractual services, and that's where we're going to try and attack between now and the end of the growing season, cleaning it up.
Yeah, because I know back on Oak Street and Division Street going, I mean, we had more grass through the sidewalks than we had in the yards. I mean, it looked pretty bad for this weekend. And we have a lot of events coming to the city during the summer. So, I mean, that's something we should make sure that the streets are clean.
I agree.
And, right. So, anyway, as long as you get on it and get that done. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the routine agenda? Call for the question, all in favor? 7-0, motion carry.
I'll make that motion to recess.
Motion to recess, Dr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor? 7-0.
Very good.